So one of the bad habits that I have is, and I say quote unquote because it depends how you interpret it, but is when dinner time comes, I've been working hard all day. I like to indulge in these little vegan snacks, these little vegan chocolate bar things. And I notice that when I have them, I don't sleep as well. And that could be for multiple reasons. It could be, underlying stress throughout the day affecting my gut health, which then affects my sleep, and, the cycle continues. But I know when I don't have that it's a net positive for me. But and I didn't have it yesterday, but for the most part, I'll go out of my way, no matter where I am, to go to a health food store to grab one of those. Doesn't matter how much it costs or how much how much work there is to do. I'll always find a way to do it. And that might be an example of a smaller thing, which might have, the iceberg underneath might be large, who knows? But can we use an example like that and how that might affect, or how you might move through that, or how that might affect one's life? Or is it just a harmless bad habit?
Well,
reaffirm my bad behaviors, please.
Well, there's no such thing as a harmless bad habit. There's no such thing as a harmful bad habit. They're all habits, right? And they're all really related to parts, and there are no bad parts. This is a Richard Schwartz framework that all parts are good. And that part of you, that indulgent, I deserve this. I need a reward. I'm a good person. I've earned my keep. That indulgent part of you is a positive part of you. It's rewarding you. But it's actually in conflict with another part that is saying, don't do this. It's going to be bad for your sleep. It's costing you money. Why are you doing this? So you have parts in conflict. Everybody has parts in conflict, right? And this conflict actually causes a lot of distress. And what you need to do is do parts work, where you talk to both of those parts, especially the indulgent part, because that indulgent part has a job to do. And it is determined to do that job. Right. And so that part would have developed at some point to help and assist you cope with the stress. And what you want to do is have a chat to that part and say, great, you're helping me with this indulgence to do this. And the way you do this in parts work is you create an environment where you can go meet your parts. And we'd go meet your indulgent part. We'd go meet the part that is annoyed about you buying it. We'd go meet you've got a funny part. We'd meet your entrepreneurial part that likes to create podcasts and do all those things. All of these different parts of you are actually all come together to make up who you are. And so in this space where we go and meet these parts, you then go have conversations with your parts. And you figure out, well, what do you do? What's your job? What's the job of this indulgent part? And we'd have a chat to that part. And then we'd figure out a way to work with that part to see if it would negotiate a change in that behavior. So this is not an issue of willpower, right? If willpower was the solution, then we'd have no fat people in the world. We'd have everybody doing things really well, because willpower is what people use to try and lose weight, to try and break a habit. But it often ends up not working because you're going against an internal part of you. And you need to build a relationship with that part. Why are you doing this? What's the function of it? And then working with that part with care, compassion, curiosity, to try and create a new agreement of working with that part. There is no getting rid of that indulgent part. Once you have a part, you always have that part. But it's the relationship you build with that part and how you work with that part.
Wow. It's like having an intimate relationship.
Yeah. Well, what you find is that people who have great relationships with their parts are much better at having relationships with people. People who don't have great relationship with parts don't have great relationship. If you have parts that are dissociated, no connection with your parts, ignore all parts, you'll find that person is very lonely and isolated. But what you do with your parts has an everyday impact.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. So you wouldn't be reading any books, you wouldn't be reading any, how to break habits. All of that relies on willpower and you, but it ignores what is going on with your parts. And unless you do something with your parts, you won't create the change that you want.
Yeah. So I guess it goes back to what Carl Jung calls individuation, which is the integration of all one's parts to make a swinging human being, like how a human being should be.
Well, technically, there's this odd thing. There's integration of parts, right? So integration of parts, but integration of parts is the worst terminology you can use. It's a little bit like how the word theory has a scientific role and an everyday use. And if I say in everyday use, I've got a theory, that means I've got an idea. But in scientific terms, theory means it's a proved theory. It's got all the evidence it needs. And I think integration works in the same way. Integration in general use means integrated as one. Whereas integrated within a parts framework or within a psychology framework actually means working together. It doesn't mean becoming one. All your parts will be separate, but working with you, communicating with you on the same page and allowing you to manage and reinforcing when they need is you becoming integrated. It's not everybody becoming one. You still got all those parts, but it's how you work with them. So integrated means we're all working together, we're all on the same page, we're all communicating, there's care, compassion, love for all those parts. Disconnected means they're disconnected to me. I don't want to know about them, I'm pretty annoyed with them. And they can influence me. They can be co-conscious, making me do things like go to the cupboard and eat some chocolate or a vegan snack, or can make me go have some alcohol. I'm conscious. I know that I'm doing it, but there is a force that is making me do it. And all at the other extreme end of that spectrum is dissociated parts, where if they're dissociated, that means they can take over. And me as a person, I go into an amnesic state, and that part just takes over my body and controls what I'm doing. And that full range is seen, right? So parts can be integrated all the way up to dissociated. Yeah.
Thanks for watching this clip of the Getting Mental podcast. If you like this clip, check out the full episode here or more clips here.